Hello, hello! I'm Avalon, and this is Voice Notes from the Chrysalis, my 21 episode podcast where I share all of the golden nuggets that I discovered through being deeply transformed over the past 5 years in celebration of the launch of my digital course, Discover Yourself! Woo! I'm so excited for you to be here. And in this episode, I'm going to talk about two things that are highly personal to me that came out of the years of transformation but they're unique to me, but I would really encourage you to develop and find these for yourself. Okay. So the first thing is my North Star. And the second is a commitment that I've made to myself that feels really deeply healing based on everything I've gone through in my life. And we might have my cat Bruce joining me. Yes, hello. He is here. He has arrived. Do you want to say hi? He's like, no. He's gonna be a little lap cat. Okay. So the North Star. I don't actually know when I developed this, but it has been in recent years, like last 5 years, that I have leaned heavily on this North Star. Essentially, like something that I deeply care about. I would say that it's a value. It is a value, but it is like a phrase, not a single word, not a single thing. But for me, it is the commitment to myself that I will live a life that I will never regret. Like that actually, thinking back to the last episode, I'm remembering now when I developed that came through one of my early therapy sessions with that first therapist when I felt like I was going crazy. And I developed this North Star to help me make decisions, especially decisions that sometimes in life there are decisions you need to make, and there's not a wrong answer, but you still need to make a choice because it's in live your life. And how do you live your life according to yourself? I highly recommend Discover Yourself to identify your values. My tool specifically takes you through discovering your ideal values, your anti-values, and your right now values, and then reflecting on what all of that means to you. So that could be a very helpful tool to find your North Star. But for me, the North Star doesn't necessarily, I value it, but it doesn't feel like just a value. It feels like a commitment and a priority. A commitment and a priority. So, yeah, the commitment and the priority to live a life that I will never regret. And that is how I make decisions. Honestly, oh, like, and what it comes down to is that I have a propensity to, and a priority and a penchant for fucking around and finding out within reason, within reason. But I would rather find out, put myself out there, stick my neck out a little bit, and find out rather than be on my deathbed or falling asleep at night wondering what would have happened if I had done that. What would have happened if I called that person? What would have happened if I got that MBA? What would have happened if I posted that online? What would have happened if I texted that person? Like I would rather find out. I would always pick living a life that I will never regret. And that can mean many things. Sometimes it doesn't mean fucking around and finding out. Sometimes it means avoiding regret. It means avoiding living a mediocre life. A life that I personally will regret would be a mediocre life. So, yeah, I highly recommend finding your North Star because it can help you make decisions um, when you're in a tough situation and there's like no right answer, but you still need to make a choice. You can use this North Star to make your decision and not a decision informed by other people's opinions, other people's expectations, obligation, all of that. It can be your decision. And then the other thing that has come out of a lot of deep transformation is more a commitment that counteracts and is deeply healing for the things that I have gone through in my life. And depending on where you're at. You might not be in a position like me where you grew up in a really challenging childhood and you had a rough time in the first half of your life. I'm so glad to hear that some of you are not in that boat. But if you have had really challenging times and really harmful things have happened to you, I would recommend considering what commitment can you make to yourself that you are responsible for keeping for yourself and how you treat yourself, essentially, that is like a balm, is like medicine to the harm that you've gone through. And for me, that commitment to myself is I will never abandon myself. And I will be honest, like I have inadvertently done things since making that commitment that where I did abandon myself inadvertently, but quickly realized that made different decisions and adjusted and knew that if nothing else, I need to always have my best interests at heart. There have been times where I have subjected myself to things that I didn't need to tolerate, and I could have spoken up and I could have said no, but I did not because I abandoned myself. I perpetuated the pattern of abandonment in my life that I've experienced from other people in my life. Um, I did that to myself and recognized it and am now undoing it through a commitment of never abandoning myself. I actually, if you see me unless I'm at like the ocean or a lake, if you see me, you will notice that I will always have a ring on my finger, usually on my middle finger. That ring signifies this commitment to myself that I will never abandon myself. I have worn a ring on my finger that I usually like, yeah, all of the yeah, this started, I think, gosh, when I was like 19. Yeah, it was in the fallout of making the choice. Ooh, you remember in that la like a previous episode when I told you that I was engaged at 17? So I was the one who broke it off. And I kind of came to my senses because I quickly realized that that person didn't want me to go to college, didn't want me to have a life of my own, very much wanted me to fulfill a role for them. And yeah, that's fine, but not what I wanted for myself. And in the year or years preceding that, I realized how like pivotal that decision was. And I decided, I remember buying this garnet ring from Target of all places. Target used to carry this line of jewelry that had like crystal jewelry. And there was a really cool looking ring with a garnet stone in it that was somehow affordable for me as like a 19-year-old. I wore that on my finger for years and years and years until there was another ring that came along that I was like, no, this is the upgraded, committed version. And I think this is actually an aura ring. This is the most expensive one I've gotten, and it does so much for me, and I love it. But this is now, I think, the fifth or the sixth uh, commitment ring to myself. And it is just deeply healing to choose myself in that way throughout my life and throughout the decisions I make and how I carry myself and how I behave, that I have this commitment that counteracts the harm that I've gone through caused by other people and breaks the cycle that I will not tolerate this behavior from other people or myself. I will never abandon myself. So. Ooh, thank you for listening to that. That felt really special to share. And I'm so excited for you to check out Discover Yourself if that feels like a helpful tool for you to discover more about what is important to you, your North Star, your values, the commitments that would be really healing for you. So thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time.